People all the time on the street, though, as soon as they hear your accent or you tell them that you're from America, the first question was always, do you like Trump? That was immediately like the reaction. I can definitely see where like the Brothers Grimm, where they got all those fairy tales from, those German forests, like they're as dark and as like they seem like they're as dark and as like magical as they're portrayed in all the fairy tales. If you call anyone any sort of animal, it's an insult. It's like you call them a spider or a pig or a cow. That was something that I learned that if you call them any sort of animal, because like in English you could be like your friends, you could call them dogs, you know, that would not fly in Germany. Like that would be very offensive. One big difference in the housing there, something that I didn't realize until I went there, is they don't have air conditioning. I thought I was surprised because it's been really hot the last few summers, like over 100 degrees. The schooling is much different. I still honestly don't understand the German schooling system. Um, they talk about the different grades, and like at a much earlier age, they go into like optional schooling, and I really don't understand it, honestly. And then in terms of like employment, work is very, very important for the German people. The craziest food that I had would have to be, I don't know exactly what it was, but it kind of had like, it was curry instead of like balls of meat in it, which you would normally have in a soup. So it was like a soup, but instead of balls of meat, there were like balls of fat and balls of bone. And you're supposed to eat all of it, even the bone. And yeah, that was not my favorite. But for the most part, all the food there was really, really good. So some of my favorite foods from Germany are, I definitely have to say Döner. So that's like, it's kind of like a pita bread, and it's got pork or chicken up inside, and like usually there's a sauce. It's way, way good. I also really like Currywurst, which is just like, you know, a wurst, a sausage, with like curry ketchup or a curry sauce on it with some fries. When I got there, I thought it was really weird that they put mayo right on their fries, but I love that. Like, I don't like it with American mayo. German mayo is much better than American mayo, but like the mayo directly on top of the fries and like eating it with a fork is way good. And then just all of their bread. American bread is nowhere near as good as German bread. Just like that you can get everywhere at grocery stores, at like little street vendors, just anywhere you can get bread in Germany, it's good. If I could bring one thing from Germany to the States, am I allowed to bring people? That would be the first one. There are so many people that I met that I just absolutely loved. The way the cities are, they're so beautiful. The old cities, a lot of the cities were destroyed in World War II in a lot of the areas where I was at. So I saw some cities that weren't so old, but the ones that really are still there from thousands, like that have been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, those are really beautiful. And then the food, I definitely bring the food back. When I came home, I had a suitcase just full of German chocolate, because it's so much better than American chocolate. I wish I could have brought some bread back, but unfortunately that doesn't save the best in a suitcase. One of the things I really loved about German culture, it's kind of a double-edged sword, is they're very direct. Like, they're definitely polite about it, but they're very direct. And that's something that's very nice in their culture. Like, you know what they're thinking. They're also usually very punctual. Their buses, their public transport, having all of that public transportation that you can just get anywhere with a bus or a train, was really, really nice. So a big cultural tip that I could give to someone traveling to Germany is to learn to use the Deutsche Bahn app. It has like all of the train and bus times. I don't know how in the world we would have gotten around without that. And second of all, is not being afraid to ask. So many people in Germany have learned English in school. So even if you're scared because you don't necessarily speak German, not being afraid to ask for directions or for help, because so many people speak English. I don't know if I can really talk about this, but definitely avoiding the topic of World War II. It's a very sensitive topic. because so many of the people there lived through it. Probably the craziest story that I have from my time in Germany was I was with one of my companions, and we were teaching a man who lived in a refugee camp from Iran, and he was moved from the refugee camp that we were teaching him at to a different one, which happens periodically. They'll move the refugees to different camps. But the new one was in the middle of a forest, and so we brought it up on our maps and we tried to navigate there, and it said there was no way to drive there. And so we drove as far as we thought the road would take us, and then we just tried to watch our map on our phone and try to guess where it was. So we ended up actually we came to a lumber yard as we were walking to it, and there's barbed wire fences, just trees everywhere. It was secure. We had to trespass through there. I can say that now because I'm safe in the US. They can't arrest me for that. So we found a hole in the barbed wire fence and we crawled through, went to the other side. And after we'd crossed to the other side, we eventually found it. So we'd already trespassed through barbed wire fence. And then we get to the refugee camp, and we go and we knock on the door, because it was in a building, and no one answered. And we didn't see any lights on. And so we knocked for a few minutes and no one answered still. So we went to go try to find our way back to our car. We realized that there was a street and we didn't have to trespass through the lumber yard again. But by this time, because in the winter there it gets dark around 3 or 4 o'clock. By this time it was 7 or 8, so it was pitch black. And so we were just walking on the side of this highway with no lights for a mile trying to find our car. So that was pretty wild. In terms of crazy encounters with people, there was this one guy at the bus station. We were getting ready to go to church. So we were just about to take the bus to our church. And this guy walked up to us and he's like, "Hey, I'm a member of your church." And we're like, "Oh, that's awesome. Did you just move here? We haven't seen you." He's like, "Yeah, I'm a drinker." We're like, "Oh, that's not a problem. We'd love to have anyone at church." And so we started talking to him, and then he's like, "Hey, will you walk with me to the door?" And it was probably 5 or 6 feet away, so it was not very far. And we're like, "No, we really need to catch our bus to get to church. But we'd love to get your phone number." We gave him our card. We were like, "We can't, sorry, it's a few feet away. you can make it there on your own." And he's like, he got so upset that we wouldn't walk to the door with him that he tore up our card. He started telling us he was gonna kill us. A lot of the times that we had funny encounters, they would be with just people who were drunk. I don't know, I kind of miss getting death threats from people on the streets. I feel like it's really entertaining. It kind of scared me when I was first there, but then as you realize that usually they're just drunk, they start to become really entertaining to you, and you just learn to laugh them off and have fun with them. I had a funny language almost mistake. So my first companion, he tried to convince me that, so the word for onion is Zwiebel, and the word for doubt is Zweifel. So he tried to convince me that it was the other way around, because he wanted me to try to say that I knew that the Book of Mormon was true without any onions. Das Buch Mormon, ich weiß, dass das Buch Mormon wahr ist, ohne Zwiebel. I feel like if I try to do a super American accent, it gets southern. It's wir werden in der Kirche gehen. And just messing up all the articles. That would probably be my worst. And if I was just trying to speak with my best German accent and be wir werden in die Kirche gehen, which probably still is not great. It's been a while since I've spoken German, but it's definitely better than the first one. I'm probably pretty biased, but I would definitely suggest that you visit Frankfurt am Main. It's the city of Frankfurt itself. I got to serve there for a few months, and it's just beautiful. It's one of the only German cities where they really have skyscrapers. It's not a super common thing in Europe. To be able to like see churches that are 1,000 years old right next to a brand new skyscraper, I think that's really incredible. Also the Bahnhof, the train station there, is huge. I would suggest seeing that. In terms of things to do, I also served in some pretty rural places, and I would definitely recommend seeing both the German, like what the cities are like, and what the little villages are like. Because a lot of the villages are exactly as we picture them. Like any stereotypical German village that you would imagine that's been around for 1,000 years, that's how a lot of them look. Like with the cobblestone streets. I would recommend seeing both the old and the new, and just seeing all the historical sites. I wish I would have been able to go to Berlin to see the Brandenburg Gate. That would have been awesome. So I would recommend that. I've never seen it, but I would recommend it.